Welcome back to the Embers archive. Tonight's story is not of light and shadow, but of the unmovable mountain and the untamable storm. It is a tale of a vow made in desperation and a love born from chaos. The world was divided. To the west, the kingdom of Ethel, a land of order and runic magic drawn from stone. To the east, the clans of the Tempest, a people who danced with the wild magic of the sky. Between them lay only bitter animosity. But now, a plague called the Stillness was poisoning the land, silencing the winds, and cracking the very crystals that powered Ethel's magic. Both kingdoms were dying. Princess Seraphina of Ethel was a brilliant scholar of runic magic, a woman who believed in structure, logic, and control. Ronan, the young chieftain of the Storm clans, was her complete opposite, a warrior who commanded the raw, chaotic power of the sky, guided by instinct and emotion. They despised one another, seeing in the other everything they found distasteful about their rival nations. But an ancient prophecy, long dismissed as folklore, now forced them together. It foretold that only a union, a vow of storm and stone, could save their world from the encroaching silence. An arranged marriage. They met on the desolate borderlands that separated their territories, the air crackling with more than just magic. The tension between them was a physical force, a palpable wall of resentment. Their wedding was a mockery of a celebration, a ceremony of cold hands and clenched jaws. Their vows were spoken through gritted teeth, each word a concession they hated to make. Seraphina was forced to leave her pristine, orderly castle and live in Ronan's sprawling, chaotic settlement. It was a place of roaring fires, loud laughter, and a visceral connection to nature that she found primitive and undisciplined. She scorned his people's ways, seeing only a lack of structure. Ronan, in turn, raged at her rigid disapproval. He saw her carefully constructed runes and ordered life as a cage, a denial of the world's true, wild heart. Yet, despite their mutual disdain, the prophecy bound them. They had no choice but to work together, to combine their knowledge to find the source of the Stillness. They argued constantly. Every research session was a battle of wills, every strategic meeting a clash of philosophies. But through the friction, something unexpected began to spark. As they analyzed ancient texts and mapped the Blight's progression, Seraphina found herself grudgingly fascinated by how Ronan didn't just wield magic, but felt it. He could taste the corruption on the wind, feel the land's pain in his bones. It was a perspective her books could never offer. Ronan, for his part, was repeatedly stunned by her analytical mind. She could predict the Blight spread with terrifying accuracy, her understanding of patterns and ley lines revealing a logic to the chaos that he had never seen. She was not cold, he started to realize, but precise. Their fragile, combative truce was put to the ultimate test one night. A violent tremor shook their camp, and a deep fissure of corrupted earth split the ground open, pulsing with the deadening energy of the Stillness. It threatened to consume their entire settlement. Ronan reacted instantly, summoning a maelstrom of wind and lightning. He hurled his power at the chasm, but it was like trying to patch a tear in fabric with a sledgehammer. His wild magic battered against the wound in the earth, but it couldn't seal it. The raw power of the storm was useless against a problem that required precision. Seeing him fail, Seraphina pushed forward, her voice a sharp, clear command cutting through the gale. "Your magic is a hammer. You need a needle. Stand aside!" Ronan, exhausted and frustrated, fell back. Seraphina knelt at the edge of the chasm, her hands tracing glowing patterns in the dirt. She drew a complex sealing rune, a masterpiece of magical engineering designed to mend the earth itself. The lines of the rune glowed with a faint, hopeful light, but her own magic, so carefully controlled, was too weak to fully activate it. The light began to die. Her voice was strained with effort and desperation. "I don't have enough power." In that moment, Ronan looked at her, kneeling in the dirt, her face pale with strain. And for the first time, he saw her magic not as a rigid cage, but as a perfect, intricate vessel waiting to be filled. He moved without thinking, kneeling behind her, and placed his large, calloused hands over her slender ones. His voice was a low, urgent murmur against her ear. "Then use mine!" He closed his eyes and unleashed the storm within him, not as a raging tempest, but as a focused, torrential river of power. He channeled all his chaotic, untamed energy through her hands, into her rune, into her control. The runes blazed with a blinding, pure light. A wall of crystalline earth rose from the fissure, knitting the land back together, sealing the corruption completely. They collapsed backward, breathless, their hands still joined, A profound silence fell, broken only by their ragged breathing. For the first time, their magics, storm and stone, had combined in perfect, impossible harmony. They knew now the stillness wasn't a natural plague. It was an attack. A deliberate targeted assault by an entity that sought to unmake their world. Their journey took them to the epicenter of the Blight, a place on their maps that was once a volcano, now called the Silent Caldera. There, at its heart, awaited the source of their suffering. An entity of pure nothingness. A vortex of anti-existence. It didn't attack with force or energy, but with its absence. A chilling void that nullified their magic whenever they tried to use it apart. Ronan's storms dissipated into nothing. Seraphine's runes flickered and died before they could form. Her voice was a desperate realization. We can't fight it alone. Ronan looked at her, his gaze steady. Their vow, once a political chain that bound them in misery, was now their only weapon. Then we don't fight it apart. He took her hand, and this Chimi, there was no hesitation. He poured his storm into her, a willing and total surrender of his power. And she, in turn, accepted it. Not fighting its chaos, but embracing it, weaving it with her own precision into the most powerful and complex binding rune she had ever conceived. Together, they became a single conduit of balanced creation. They unleashed a blast of pure, harmonious magic, the unyielding strength of the earth fused with the boundless energy of the sky. The stillness, an entity of pure absence, could not exist in a world so vibrantly, defiantly alive. And in a silent, brilliant flash of light, it dissolved into nothing. They stood in the center of the restored caldera, hands still clasped, as the first rain in a year began to fall. The gentle drops washed the dust from their faces and signaled the return of life to the land. Their marriage, once a symbol of a bitter truce, had just become the foundation of a new world. A world where storm and stone were not enemies, but partners. Ronan turned to her, his voice soft with a reverence she had never heard. I thought your magic was a cage, but I was the one who was trapped. A small, genuine smile touched Seraphine's lips for the first time. And I thought yours was chaos, but it is the only thing that has ever felt ... balanced. He kissed her then, under the healing rain. It was not a kiss of duty or alliance, but of profound understanding and a love that had been forged in the heart of a storm. A vow of storm and stone, once spoken in defiance, was now sealed in love. And here, in the heart of the archive, another story of impossible unity was carefully recorded, a reminder that the greatest strength is often found in the harmony of opposites. Thank you for joining us at the Embers archive. If you enjoyed this story, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more tailies from the Embers. We'll see you next time.